I know. Welcome to the Schilling Show, Jerry Ashton and Craig Antico, founders of RIP Medical Debt. What a fantastic story this is, and what an interesting concept, helping a lot of people. We're going to hear all about it right now as we welcome Jerry and Craig to the program. Gentlemen, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
We're happy to be here.
All right. So would you give us a little bit about your backgrounds, because you have come from a place where a lot of people may not expect, and what your professional backgrounds were?
Yeah, this is Craig. I've been in the collection business for maybe a little bit less than 30 years. I started in the family business until about the year 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry, more than me.
Jerry, tell us about your own background.
Once again, a bill collector by choice, and for about 40 years, I always felt that I was the guy with the white hat, not the black hat,
Mm-hmm.
because my job was to go after monies that was owed to my clients for goods and services, and if they couldn't collect it, then it was my job. So up to recently, my idea was if there was a debt, it had to be collected.
Okay, so this is fascinating. So you guys have come from the world of bill collecting professionally for a number of years. You're obviously pros at it. You understand the ins and outs of it. And you have started up RIP Medical Debt, which really turns this whole thing on its ear. Tell us about why you got involved in this, and then I want to learn about RIP Medical Debt. What changed your hearts in what you were doing to get involved on the other side of this?
Yeah, Craig, why don't you start out?
Jerry introduced me to a group that needed some help with buying debt. They had an idea, a nonprofit had an idea that they could expose what was going on in the industry, which is actually the debt is oftentimes sold to collectors, and I don't think a lot of people knew that. I mean, we've known that for many years, but so we helped them actually buy medical debt with money they raised, and that got us. First, we thought it was crazy. We thought, what good is that going to do if you buy this $1 million debt for $15,000? That's going to help a few people. Well, it really helps about 300 to 400 people. But we soon found that the people started calling and writing and thanking us for this effort, and we ended up doing about $40 million of debt that we bought and abolished with donated funds, and that's what got us excited about it. What do you think, Jerry?
977-1070 is the phone number. Jerry Ashton is our guest, along with Craig Antico. We're talking about RIP Medical Debt. So, this is interesting to me, and I want to spend a little bit more time about how the industry works, because you talk about buying debt, and so the collectors and the collection agencies would actually purchase debt for how much on the dollar, and then that's why they would be so motivated, because then the money is all theirs, whatever they collect. Is that how it would work?
Yeah, about 0.5% to 1%, sometimes a little more. So it's about 1% of the value of the debt. It's an amazing thing. And then the collectors will actually go after the full amount, and oftentimes it'll go on for between 1 and 7, 8, 10 years. They'll try to collect on these accounts, which is what we're trying to alleviate, is that a long tail that goes on in this industry where from, say, the second year on to the 10th year, we want to buy that medical debt so that it doesn't harm people, indefinitely. We don't mind if they're trying to collect on it, but if people can't pay it, we'd like to buy it and close it.
We're talking with Jerry Ashton and Craig Antico, the founders of RIP Medical Debt. Let's talk about the medical debt problem. I'm sure there's people that can relate to this just in private life, but what is the problem amongst our veterans, and how did you find out that this was such an issue?
Well, why don't we put this into a context, the larger context of debt that's created in the medical industry to begin with.
Yeah.
Unlike going out and buying that 60-inch television, which is a choice, nobody really chooses to have cancer, chooses to have an accident. So a medical debt is sort of foisted upon people. And the present system that we have, which is based on either you have insurance or you don't, and up to a certain point in time in the past, you may have had insurance and you couldn't even qualify in certain ways. So it's just a mess. Bill up when the word ACA or Obamacare was brought into it, because presumably Obamacare was set up to be able to insure those people who were uninsurable or people who were left out of that safety net. I'm going to get to the military in a minute on that, but when you consider the fact that a medical debt is created, then what happens? It's either paid or it's not paid. If it's not paid, the hospital or the doctor is required by intelligence, business sense, to collect that money because they have to pay their bills. If they're not successful in that, they go out to a third party called a collection agency, and that's the industry that Craig and I were in. Well, when you go to that industry, even their success rate is not that great. So the hospital gets these accounts returned to them, and the next thing they have to think about is, what am I going to do with this pile of uncollected bills called uncompensated care? And that's when the debt buyer steps in. The debt buyer steps in and says to the hospital, you've got $100 million worth of debt there. Why don't I simply buy it from you for $1 million? So if the hospital has a choice between having no money and $1 million, that's what they're going to do. So that's the general problem of debt created to begin with. In the military, a lot of people think that once a veteran has served, that they deserve to have some form of medical care. And I'm sad to say that's not really the case. And Craig really was the one who first happened onto military debt, even though I'm a former military man myself.
So how does this work? Because, as you said, a lot of people are under the impression that if you're in the military, you have medical coverage through the VA, and you don't have to worry about this. So how does this happen that those bills aren't getting covered?
Well, what it is the debt that is incurred when a person is injured or has PTSD or traumatic brain injury. Most of those expenses are covered for the actual problem that they had, whether it's mental health, for surgeries, or if they're injured, they have multiple comorbidity, they call it. They have multiple injuries, and those are often paid. But what ends up happening is many of these veterans do not want to go to the VA for help, and they want to go outside the VA. Well, when you go outside the VA, you have to pay. Now, there are over 1 million visits a month for these people that are approved to go to the VA and have their expenses paid completely, but they don't actually all go to the VA, either because it's too far away or because they can't get there or because they don't want to go to the VA for service. So 1 million visits a month are occurring outside of the VA. That's one area. The other area is we're trying to help the families of these veterans. So debt accumulates within a family just like it is with your and my family. And it, like right now, I have about 1.6 million bills from veterans and active duty that I can buy right now. So, and that was not even going through a tremendous effort. I thought this was going to be so hard to find medical debt for the veterans and the active duty, but I was able to find it relatively easy. It's sad.
This is where we're appealing to your audience, and thank you for allowing us an avenue to be able to do this. We're letting the audience know that these veterans who have slipped through the cracks and their families are burdened by literally millions of dollars worth of unpaid and unpayable medical debt. So for someone who says something more than thank you for your service and want to be able to help out, sort of a random act of kindness, we serve to take in donations to go to the debt buying market, to locate that military debt, to buy it for as little, perhaps as a penny on the dollar, which is why we're doing our best to raise about $14.5 million in order to buy and abolish $1 billion worth of veteran military debt.
This is absolutely remarkable what you're doing. Before we go to the break, and I've got more questions for Jerry Ashton and Craig Antico, RIP Medical Debt. If people are motivated to become involved, to donate, or maybe they know somebody who needs some help in this area, let's tell them how they can visit you online.
Before we go to the break or after?
Yeah, right now before we go to the break.
Okay. Well, we call this a random act of kindness. It's really something that you're paying forward. You're not giving money for a particular individual or family. What you're doing is you're enabling us to build a fund that lets us buy a portfolio. It might be in Charlotte. It might be in San Diego. It might be in Detroit. It's not necessarily where we can help somebody send me their bill. Let's say they send me a $10,000 bill, and I'm going to just abolish it. Well, it's not. It doesn't work that way. So you can go to our site and say that you'd like to get involved. You could either donate. You can tell us a problem that you have, and if there's a way that we can help you with it, because we do take emails. We get a plethora of emails and calls asking for help. The only way that we can help individuals is if, let's say, I'm going to buy a big portfolio in Virginia, and I know that there are several people in Virginia, and I talk on your radio show about this, and they give me all their medical debt that they have. Well, I'll include that in my purchase. But the reason why we can get this 1% deal is because we put thousands and thousands of accounts into the same portfolio. Mm-hmm. If we had to do it separately, it would probably cost us about 40 cents on the dollar to do this work.
Great. So give us the website real quick so we can go to the break and come back for just another brief segment.
That would be ripmedicaldebt.org. That's
Great.
What you need to do. And we'll talk about the book after the break.
Terrific. Let's go to the break. It's 1:48 here on the Schilling Show. One more brief segment left. Jerry Ashton and Craig Antico, the founders of RIP Medical Debt, where they are buying up the debt of United States military veterans and just retiring it, just wiping it off. It's a wonderful program. Stay with us. We'll be back on the other side with a brief segment here on the Schilling Show. Just a couple minutes left here in our final segment of the Schilling Show with Jerry Ashton and Craig Antico, the founders of RIP Medical Debt. So let's wrap this up before we run out of time. What is the call to action for people listening right now that may want to help out with this and be a part of your team?
What we can do right now, I've got a small portfolio. This would be great for your listeners to try to get down. Maybe we can put an email or alert out to your customers to tell whether we got to it. If we could raise about $25,000 during this call, we can actually abolish over $1 million of medical debt for active duty and veterans. And I have a small portfolio that I can buy and actually show that the group in Virginia actually had this happen. So that would be what I would say would be a great call to action. So even if it's $20, $50, $100 that you'd like to donate, come to ripmedicaldebt.org, and I'll keep just for Virginia and your area, I'll keep your listeners posted on whether or not we reach that goal.
Tell us also maybe a success story. I saw one young lady on your website who was just bowled over by how this changed her life.
Yeah, that lady was that Paula you're talking about? It's amazing that the people that go bankrupt for medical debt are actually, they have insurance. Most of them have insurance. But there are as many people that are graduating from college this year go bankrupt each year for medical debt. So we get calls from these people all the time, and we've got a group of letters in the back on our website to show you what they're going through. But even $1,000 bill that we eliminate makes a huge difference to these people. I mean, that might only end up being $50 to $100 a month of payments going out because they're not having to pay that any longer on a schedule or something like that, a payment plan. But Paula, I think it was $950 that we helped eliminate for her, and she was just ecstatic and felt that somebody cared. So it does put a face onto what we're doing.
Indeed, it does. We've got to go right now, but I hope that people will respond to this. If you would, please, the website once again, Jerry and Craig.
ripmedicaldebt.org. RIPmedicaldebt.org, and that's rest in peace, like R.I.P. R.I.P. medical debt. We're trying to put the debt into the grave.
It's a wonderful thing that you're doing. And
just one more thing, too. For people who want to educate themselves on this broader problem of medical debt, because many of your listeners are either going to be in it or part of it in their family, is to go to www.nomoremedicaldebt.com. nomoremedicaldebt.com.
Terrific. It's so wonderful what you're doing, and I know a lot of people are very grateful. Jerry Ashton and Craig Antico, thank you for being with us here today on The Schilling Show.
Thanks for inviting us.
All right, indeed, and I hope we can do that again. People need to find out about this, because what a way to leverage a few dollars to make a relief in medical debt, just to wipe it out for deserving veterans.